Have you ever walked through a forest and felt like something or someone was watching you? Something small, something quick, like a flicker of light or the brush of wings? I have. And in those moments, I always find myself wondering, are the fairies still here? Hidden, just beyond the veil of what we can see? Fairies. They've enchanted us for centuries. These tiny magical beings, known for their mischief, beauty, and mystery, have danced their way into the stories of cultures around the world. But where did they come from? Who first imagined them? That's where things get interesting. You see, fairies aren't just a simple product of fairy tales. Their origins are as ancient and complex as the forest they're said to inhabit. In Celtic tradition, they were known as the Aos Sea, the people of the mounds, believed to be the spirits of nature or even gods who retreated into the hills and forests when humans arrived. In Ireland, these ancient mounds, known as fairy forts, were believed to be the gateways to the other world, the realm of the fairies. People would leave offerings of milk, honey, and bread in hopes of keeping the fairies' favor and avoiding their mischief. And that's one of the most fascinating things about fairies. They weren't always seen as these tiny, delicate creatures with wings. In fact, early stories described them as powerful, sometimes dangerous beings you didn't want to upset. Some of the oldest tales even suggest that fairies are not just magical creatures, but something far older. There's a belief that they were once ancient gods or supernatural spirits, forced to retreat into hiding as humans spread across the land. Can you imagine that? Gods, shrinking into the shadows, becoming the fairies we whisper about today. But the fairies we think of today, tiny, winged, playful, those are a bit different. That version of fairies became popular much later, especially in the Victorian era. Back then, they were romanticized, turned into symbols of innocence and nature. Artists and writers like Shakespeare helped shape this image too, turning them into the mischievous, light-hearted creatures we know from A Midsummer Night's Dream. So, where did the wings come from? Early fairy legends didn't mention them, but over time, as fairies became more connected to nature, their association with birds, insects, and the spirit of the air gave rise to the idea that they could fly. Wings became a symbol of their freedom and their connection to the natural world. Think about it. If you were a magical being, why wouldn't you want to soar through the sky? But let's not forget, fairies aren't always the harmless little creatures of children's books. In some stories, they're tricksters, playing pranks on unsuspecting humans, stealing food, causing mischief, and leading travelers astray in the woods. There's even a darker side to some of these myths. In Scottish folklore, changeling stories told of fairies swapping human babies with their own, leaving behind a fairy child in disguise. These stories make you think, don't they? Fairies, for all their beauty, have always walked the line between light and dark, between blessing and curse. They represent the wild, untamed aspects of nature, both its enchanting and dangerous sides. And maybe that's why the idea of fairies has lasted so long. They speak to something deep within us, something that still feels the presence of the unknown when we walk through a quiet forest or hear the wind whisper through the trees. So where do fairies come from? Some say they're spirits of the earth, protecting the natural world from human destruction. Others believe they're memories of ancient gods, diminished over time, but never completely forgotten. Or maybe, just maybe, they exist in the space between worlds, slipping in and out of our reality when we're not looking. Maybe that's why they're so hard to pin down. Fairies aren't just one thing. They're part of our collective imagination, a reflection of how we see nature, magic, and mystery. They remind us that not everything can be explained, that there are still corners of the world and of ourselves that remain wild, unpredictable, and full of wonder. So the next time you find yourself wandering through the woods and you catch that flicker out of the corner of your eye, don't be so quick to dismiss it. You never know, perhaps the fairies are still watching. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore more magical mysteries with us.